head coach of the Regina Pats, Brad Herauf, is joining us. Hoff, you guys got in late. Like, did you have bus trouble or something out of Alberta last night?
No, just coming from Lethbridge. I think by the time we got out there, it was almost 11 o'clock, and obviously a time change here, so it was almost 6 o'clock, I think, by the time I walked in my door.
Jeez.
Yike. That's stuff I don't miss about hockey. That's one thing I do not miss. It's that buzz coming home.
How tough is it? Like, just give people a look behind the curtain here, and how can you put it into words where you have this young team, young scrappy team, and you got to go into that Alberta triangle there, and these teams are built for a Memorial Cup. Like, as a coach, I don't like, how do you put it into words?
Yeah, obviously you can't look at the overall process or the overall result. You got to try to find wins. For us, we're just, trying to go period by period and just trying to, limit our neutral zone turnovers, win the face-off battle, just make sure we're throwing more body checks than them. Just little simple things like that. And it's not the same thing all the time. It's just trying to stack up those little wins. And, when we can do those things against certain teams, you're usually in the game till the end. And, we were in the game in Calgary, and then obviously Medicine Hat kind of got away from us. They're a real good team. They score easy. Then I just really liked our response last night. We ended up giving up a shorthanded goal. About 5 minutes left. Obviously, unfortunate, went off our defenseman stick. But we killed off a 4-minute a penalty kill with under 5 minutes left. So, there's just things like that. And I was looking on the ice, and there was 4 17-year-olds on the ice, and they're out there against a Jagger and Price, and just laughing to myself, it's like the Pac Canadians playing a Western League team. But with that being said, be able to kill penalties against guys like that, it gives our guys confidence because they're able to do it. And when they can have successes against that, for them individual selves, obviously it's not the result we want, but we're looking for, guys scoring goals, guys killing off penalties against those top players. It's little wins like that that are the development pieces we're, focusing on.
Do you learn a lot about what you have in these kids as well when you're going through things like this?
Well, I think if we talk about adversity and kids going against it or not going against it, and like as we were talking about earlier, how things used to be, but. I think it's a telltale sign. It's not easy, and it's not easy to come to the rink, and be motivated some days. But for us as a coaching staff, that's one thing that we really focus on, making it enjoyable to be at the rink, something that you want to come around to, because sometimes the expectation of not having a chance sometimes can be a little bit daunting. But for us, I think that we really turned the expectations up on our group because we've had real close games, because we've beat some top teams. The success has come a little bit intermittently, a little bit, but we had success. We've won periods against good teams. We've stacked up a lot of winnable details in our games against those winning teams. So our young guys are doing all our scoring here in the last month, or the majority of it. So there's things like that we can really look forward to, that when these guys are 18, 19 years old, we can see the projection on it.
You talk about your youth on your team, but you do have some veteran players that are there and that obviously contributing. Talk about the leadership of the 2 guys that are 20-year-olds and even your 2 19-year-old goaltenders that are definitely having to rise to the occasion on a season that maybe they wouldn't necessarily think would be their last in junior hockey.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, one of our guys right now, John Babcock, he's got a little bit of a stomach issue he's been dealing with for the last 10 days. So we went into that road trip with 4 17-year-old defensemen, 15-year-old call-up from the Saskatoon Blazers, and a 19-year-old Ephraim McNutt. So it was a tough back end, but the kids did really well. Our 15-year-old we had called up from the Blazers was, he fit right in, didn't look out of place. But yeah, the older guys, they're crucial guys. it's no different than business. You know, when you're a young guy, you're just an employee, and when you're an old guy, you're leadership. You got to think of them as your managers, and then you got to think of like those guys that become your captaincy, the guys that would be kind of like your regional managers. It's just when you start to think of it like that, we got a whole bunch of employees, and we don't got as many managers as the other teams do, because they're all 19, 20 years old, and when you can have, and that's what this league is. So. We lean on them a lot. We're a big culture thing. That's something that we're talking about all the time about is our culture, and learning to win and making sure that there's an identity when the fans come to the rink that they can expect to see it of our hockey team. And we feel that we can demand those consistent things out of our group right now when we are of age to be in a spot of winning. We really believe our foundation of our hockey club will be solidified.
You've been with this team 10 years now. It might shock you to even think about that, Brad, but you've been there 10 years, obviously seen some great highs, and now we're seeing teams with a little less success, but a lot of development. What can you bring to those kids, knowing that you've seen that success before with the Memorial Cup and the championship teams?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Sharky, is that I know how the circle works. I know how the cycle kind of works, and when you can see the results at 17, and you can see the good things at 16. We got 3 16-year-olds in the lineup right now, and they're really starting to come. And just the difference, after the Christmas break, and just knowing that cycle of kids, so you can have real belief in your projections and what you're seeing in your kids. I think that's one thing. I don't know if you bring that to the group, but I think that you bring that within, with working with Al Miller. Man, the guy's been through it. He's, done the cycle multiple times, so he understands the cycle. So for us having a real good cycle, or having good people like Dale Durkatch around, we're like the real, they're hockey men, and they know this business, and they know how it works. So I think just having the belief in what we're doing here, and just shutting out the outside noise, and just knowing we really believe on where we're going with this, and it's just a matter of time for us, and we think our time is getting definitely a lot closer.
I like it.
And we brought it up on the show, and we talked about it earlier too, is when people go and watch the Regina Pats at the Brandt Center now, yeah, they're young, not going to make the playoffs this year, but you're seeing the scrappy brand where they're not backing down, and there's almost the excitement in the fact where it's like the little engine that could, right?
That will.
It's like you're kind of really hoping, and you want these kids to do well. So for Brad, people to still come out, they're seeing these kids put it all out on the line. No one's mailing it in.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's one thing that we really pride ourselves in, and something that that when me and Al first connected, I think that's one thing that really brought us together, and what we believed in, and what we want our Regina Pats to represent, and how we want our players to play. And I think that's something that we've always been really aligned in with it. And I guess win, lose, or draw, we want to be able to. We believe in putting your best foot forward and giving it your all, and whatever happens. But I think people can respect when they see effort, and you don't got to be. Anyone can understand effort. You don't got to be a big time hockey fan. There can be children, there can be moms, dads, aunties, uncles who've seen the game for the first time. They can appreciate second, third efforts, and never giving up.
This might be a real tough one to answer, and kind of close with this. When you go through those and you see the Calgarys, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, as a guy, you've been with the Pats for 10 years, but you've been around hockey a long time. Does one of those teams stand out to you as maybe a team that you've seen that's deep, that has what it takes, or are they kind of all in the same boat?
It's funny. I was talking with Matt Adenholt last night about this, and just kind of like my experience when we had Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and us, and we were all top 10 CHL at that time, and kind of the gauntlet they're at right now. I thought we were a little bit more similar, heavy, but out there's a real contrast in the style of teams. So it's going to be interesting, man. Lethbridge is going to be good. They got big, heavy guys. They're built for there. Calgary, I always feel like they can be a little bit better than what they're playing right now and what their result is. And then Medicine Hat, boy, they're Medicine Hat. And I just was looking at the three guys they had out. They had Basha out, who's a first rounder, Caden Lindstrom, who's out as a first rounder, and Matthew Ward, he's always been a 20-year-old for them. And he's out with Swift Current. He's always scored against us. So like they're missing their whole first line, and two guys were NHL first round picks. Like goodness. And now they got Tanner Mollendijk right there, who just like he plays little kid hockey out there. Like he's like that kid in novice who just pick up the puck and just skate end to end, and that's such a rarity to see in hockey nowadays, and those kind of players. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how the game is called in the playoffs. What they let go, and how physical and how Medicine Hat can handle the physicality, and if they can, and if the other teams can catch up to their speed, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it will. And then maybe the biggest question of the night in Regina: what do the Regina Pat Blues have to do to beat Southeast tonight?
I'm too wrapped up in film on PA today. All I know is how to try to beat the PA Raiders.
Well, good luck with that too.
Yeah, right
exactly.
Thanks so much, Brad. We'll see you at the rink tonight.
Thanks, fellas.